Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all keeping well from wherever you happen to be tuning in from. My name is John Kinghorn. I will be the host of this workshop, this very, very exciting West Coast Avitourism workshop today. Thank you to all 21 of you who have joined in. It is greatly appreciated. And from BirdLife South Africa's point of view, we do hope that you obtain much benefit and value from having attended this workshop. This workshop forms part of a series of different workshops that we will be running over the next couple of months, and I'll get into that a little bit more as we progress. Before we get into the thick of things, I would just like to share a quick video with all of you.
Birds, they're all around us.
They connect us.
Regardless of language.
Across cultures.
Beyond borders.
Despite our differences, they unite us.
They inspire us and bring us joy.
Birds are indicators of the health of our environment.
Our grasslands, fragile wetlands,
Forests.
And our majestic oceans.
They tell us when something is wrong.
The canary in the coal mine.
What is good for birds is good for people.
Good for communities, for business, for the future.
but many of them need our help.
For over 100 years, we have been studying and conserving birds.
We've been watching them
and watching over them.
And maybe a little obsessed with them.
Which is why we are doing everything we can
to ensure they survive and thrive, so that our children and their children
can also experience the wonder of birds.
We are educating the next generation.
Creating jobs.
Empowering communities.
Protecting habitats.
Building a sustainable future.
Raising awareness.
Preventing extinction.
Creating hope.
We are BirdLife South Africa. We are giving conservation wings.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. I hope that that video came through quite smoothly. Sometimes it can lag a little bit because of the bandwidth that certain people may be on, but hopefully you managed to get the gist of that. And if you do or want to see that video again, you're more than welcome to reach out to me after this webinar. All right, everybody. Like I indicated earlier, my name is John Kinghorn. I'm the Avitourism project manager here at BirdLife South Africa. And this is a very, very exciting workshop. You probably find yourself here today because you are interested in either tourism or birds, potentially both, which is even better. But Avitourism in South Africa is really, really exciting. And at BirdLife South Africa, we're very excited to have the opportunity to proceed with this workshop, this online workshop. And as indicated earlier, this is going to form part of a series of workshops in all likelihood that we'll be conducting along the West Coast, both virtually and also in person. And it is as a result of the International Climate Initiative, or IKI, I-K-I, and they have, through a grant, awarded us the opportunity to proceed with crucial conservation education and empowerment opportunities in birding and bird tourism along the West Coast. And obviously, all of these workshops are absolutely free of the online workshops, and so your attendance can only but be beneficial for all of you. Now, perhaps you have never heard of BirdLife South Africa, and so I'd just like to take a brief moment to explain who it is, who we are, and what it is that we do. So there's the latest image from the staff meeting taken earlier on this year in May, and the organization is going from strength to strength to strength. We form part of a global partnership of partners belonging to BirdLife International. There's over 120 different partners from all over the world, every single continent, and a large sum of very well-known and even lesser-known countries are represented within the partnership. And the sole aim is to protect, conserve birds. BirdLife South Africa's job is to do exactly that, but on a local level here in South Africa, and serve birds, their habitats, and biodiversity through science and scientifically based programs, and of course also supporting the sustainable and equitable use of our natural resources, and encouraging people to enjoy nature, to enjoy us. So in terms of the organizational structure, we have a conservation division. All of our conservation work, being an NPO, is funded by donors, be it small, relatively small donations in comparison to the larger donations often made by corporate. But the entire scale of donations is what funds our conservation division and our conservation work here at BirdLife South Africa. Under our conservation division, we have a number of different programs, from seabird conservation through to landscape conservation, and all the way to even policy and advocacy. And we prevent extinctions, we look at marine conservation, we look at flyways, which is particularly pertinent to this specific workshop, agriculture, climate, and of course, the empowerment of people. The reason I've circled that in red is because that's where the work that we do fits into the picture, within the broader context of the Avitourism side of things. And this is the Empowering People program. Our stellar, powerful captain, Nandi Tubela herself, standing in front of us, sitting in front of us rather, and then my colleagues all the way around me. Tandlwazi and Daba, our Empowering People program intern, is in the background here of this webinar, and she is on standby to also assist in answering any questions that you may have. Now, the whole purpose behind the Empowering People program is taking the conservation, we're taking the science side of things that are done by all the remarkable scientists and extremely knowledgeable people in the organization, turning it into something which is a lot more relatable and understandable by the members of the public. Put a quote there: education is fundamental in bridging the gap between science and conservation, because that is exactly what we are involved in. Each of us in this image doing different jobs within the program. And those different jobs look a little bit like this. We've got our environmental education and awareness component. We have an Avitourism component and a sustainable livelihood component. Now, Avitourism is obviously where we will be focusing today. But the reason it all falls under this broader umbrella of the Empowering People program is because we do exactly that. The aim is to use conservation to empower people in all of South Africa. Onto the birds. Why South Africa? Well, I'm going to present you, everybody, with a number of really potentially even mind-blowing facts for you. So I do hope that you've taken a seat, because when we get to the details about Avitourism and how much it's generating across the world and in South Africa, you're going to be mind-blown. But if you did not know already, South Africa is a remarkable birding destination. In fact, one of the world's most well-known and one of the continent's most well-known birding destinations. You know, the country as a whole supports itself and lends itself to a strong Avitourism industry. And the reason being is because on a broader African context, we really do have good infrastructure. Obviously we have good accommodation options. We've got a good road network. We've got good service providers. We've got a number of things which just gear the country up to being one of those destinations, especially on the African continent, that foreigners particularly would like to travel to. And take all of that aside, if we look at the birds, South Africa alone has about 870 different species of bird. The actual figure is just over 8 in South Africa. Now, that is approximately 8% of the world's total bird diversity. And you can see our checklist of birds of South Africa. That is this year's edition, 2025. And it is a very, very, very reliable, fantastic resource for you to get your hands onto. It can be downloaded off of our website, absolutely free. And one of those things that many, many birders would like to know. Even in the day and age of technology, people will arrive at an accommodation establishment and say, do you have a bird list? And so providing them with something, be it our bird list or your own bird list, is crucial. And of course, our ever regal, almost seemingly royal blue crane being our national bird. The country has 49 endemic species, and this includes 2 endemic families. What does the term endemic mean? Well, endemic means that they can only be found in one specific area. So in this event, it is in South Africa. So out of those, we have 2 endemic families, and that is the rock jumper and the sugar birds. So you'll see we've got Cape rock jumper on the left, Drakensberg rock jumper on the right at the top, and then we have Cape sugarbird and Gurney sugarbird just underneath them. So nowhere else in the world will you be able to see these 4 species of bird. And of course, a whole host of other spectacular, important, and unique birds. One of my personal favorites being the seabirds, which also face a massive crisis at the moment. So yeah, it's especially the African penguin, which has now been uplisted to critically endangered. Obviously, we are doing our best to try to protect and conserve them. Now, an exciting thing that we do at BirdLife South Africa is the Bird of the Year program. And I'm going to play you a short video now, which has been narrated by the well-known comedian and talk show, podcast personality, and TV personality, Themba Robin. So if you'll just take a second and have a look at our official Bird of the Year video for this year for the red-billed oxpecker.
Hi there. I'm a red-billed oxpecker, but you can just call me Red. I might be small, but I live a big, busy, and important life. Most days, you'll find me on the backs of big animals like buffalo, kudu, or cattle. I help by eating ticks off their skin. It's a win-win. They stay healthy, and I stay full. Yum. But not too long ago, things weren't so good for us. People used dangerous poisons to kill ticks, and those poisons hurt birds like me too. We lost food, trees to nest in, and our numbers started to drop. It was a tough time. The only places we could survive were nature reserves. Luckily, conservationists and farmers worked together to help us. They created safe spaces, stopped using strong poisons on their animals, and even brought us back to places where we had disappeared from. Now, we're making a comeback. We are found over larger areas and our numbers have increased. We live in family groups, raise chicks in tree holes, and chatter all day long. Chirp, 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 chirp. Our homes aren't just in nature reserves, but also on farms and in rural areas, wherever there are big trees to live in and animals to help. Even if you live in the city, you can still learn about birds like me. Next time you visit the countryside, you might spot one of us cleaning a cow or riding a rhino. We're not just helpers, we're part of a big, connected ecosystem. Thanks to people who care, our story is a hopeful one. So keep your eyes open. You never know when you'll meet someone like me doing my part, one tick at a time.
Excellent. So that is our Bird of the Year video resource that was put together. And it's just something that we do every single year. Why select a specific species? Well, there's a number of different reasons. It can serve as a champion for birding as a whole over the course of a single year. Generally, the species that we try and choose is one that's relatable to people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and different areas of South Africa, and also species that can be portrayed in a light-hearted but still serious enough way that we can showcase an important conservation message. Be that conservation message either a negative conservation context, i.e. a species is about to go extinct potentially, or needs some additional limelight on it. Alternatively, a conservation success story, which is very evident when it comes to the oxpeckers and how they have managed to fight back from a massive population decline in the late 1980s. So just an excellent little resource that we try and do, and media, I'm sure many of you will agree with me, is the way to proceed going forward in advertising. And hopefully this message manages to reach a number of people. We have also done this in isiZulu as well. So these are used at our environmental education and awareness outreach efforts and events, and various other content of this nature will be looked at and hopefully created going forward. Now, onto the East Atlantic Flyway initiative, and I touched on why we're busy doing this now. Why are we doing this online workshop? Why are we involved in promoting the East Atlantic Flyway, or the West Coast in South Africa? And that's what I'm going to just explain now. So what is it? Well, it is a collective initiative where BirdLife South Africa and other partners, other BirdLife partners, are looking at protecting and conserving the East Atlantic Flyway. What on earth is a flyway? You might be sitting there thinking to yourself, it sounds very familiar to highway, because it is. A flyway is a traditionally used migratory route for birds across the world. Now, birds don't always just stay in one particular spot for an entire calendar year. They generally tend to move. Those movements can be either on a smaller scale in comparison to the thousands of kilometers some of these birds travel. Perhaps they migrate simply from 100 kilometers to even 20 kilometers, or something very, very small, just to follow food availability. And the other alternative, or the converse, is the birds that migrate longer periods and transcontinental, and also between the different northern and the different hemispheres, northern and southern hemisphere. So those are referred to as Palearctic migrants. Now, these flyways are essentially that. They are migratory highways in the sky. They are happening above us during the midst of the year whilst we're going about our daily business, completely unaware. These birds are in all likelihood busy covering vast distances. And some example of that is some of the work that we've recently done. My colleague Jessica Wilmot has been doing on European rollers, and some of that work we hope to emulate along this East Atlantic Flyway. So promote the creation of a network of protected areas along this flyway. Birds also don't tackle these migrations in one foul swoop, unintended, but rather do so at stages, which means that there is an importance to make sure that protected areas are made safe havens for birds along these migratory pathways. And these birds will follow these pathways to and from breeding and non-breeding grounds, following food availability over the course of the year for their entire lifespan. They'll do it once in our autumn as we as we move into winter, and then they'll do it again coming down from the northern hemisphere and arriving back at us in the spring. And these can be everything from small songbirds through to migratory shorebirds. We need to identify threats and prioritize, priority bird species and also sites along these flyways. We need to make sure that we delineate key biodiversity areas, KBAs, and safeguard these sites. Obviously, explore fundraising opportunities for the different projects. Now, this particular work that we're involved in, and I made mention of the name earlier, was as a result of funding obtained through the International Climate Initiative. And our focus is on the west coast of South Africa. Remember now, keeping in mind what the aim of this East Atlantic Flyway initiative is. Well, it's to make sure that we're protecting the habitats, we're protecting the key birds, and we're empowering people and communities, which ties in to those first two in any event. Our target area on the west coast, but not limited to the west coast, or not limited to these two areas or the areas between these two estuaries, but rather to the broader west coast, is a portion of coastline specifically running from the Berg River in the south to the Olifants River in the north. So that is our target area, but our attempts to reach a broader audience are, of course, there, and which is why we've opened this up to as many people from the West Coast as possible, because we also realize that people and communities are very closely knit with one another, especially the tourism industry, and that all tourism-related activities on the West Coast cover a massive, massive amount of distance. So it's important for us not to necessarily limit it to only people in and around these areas. And of course, our priority for this is conservation, education, and people empowerment. Now, the conservation component, I won't necessarily talk to too much at this stage, but in future workshops, once that work begins, including the declaring of protected areas, the tracking of migratory bird species with potentially geolocators, right through to creating these birding hotspots as well for all birders to enjoy. Now, Avitourism, the largest niche ecotourism sector. I'm just going to pause here for a minute. If there's anybody who happens to have a question at this stage, please feel free to let me know.
All right, I don't seem to see any questions that are busy coming through here. So excellent. We'll continue with this then. Just a gentle reminder, everybody, that you are to please, if you have any questions, just let me know so that I can answer them as best I can. What is avitourism? Well, avitourism is the largest niche tourism market. It's where tourists undertake overnight travel outside of his or her usual environment to view birds in their natural habitat. This definition applies to both domestic and international avitourists in South Africa. So that is avitourism. It falls in, everybody, very nicely into ecotourism, and in fact, it is one of the largest contributing niche sectors to ecotourism in the whole of South Africa and the world. So what is that contribution? Well, here's some figures. The global avitourism market is currently valued at $659.4 billion US dollars. And it's predicted to be worth 1.1 trillion US dollars by 2034. Our domestic industry here in South Africa is valued at 2 billion rand annually. 2 billion rand is what is being spent here in South Africa on birding related tourism. International avitourists are estimated to spend between 300 and 600 million. And that was a figure that was it is a little bit outdated. That's from 2010. It was an industry study that we did in 2010. Avitourists are consequently the highest spending niche tourists, and they also have a tendency to stay longer and travel further. So what exactly is growing avitourism? How do you tap into this market? How are we as an organization starting to or trying to grow this? Well, the Avitourism project has been going on for 25 years now at BirdLife South Africa. And it really, really, really has made an impact. And so we've got a really good blueprint for people to start to follow in order to reach out to birding tourists and encourage them to come and stay with them if you're an establishment, to utilize your services as an operator. And we're going to touch on a little bit of those now with some context as to what those exactly are. Now, we're very, very proud of our community bird guide program at BirdLife South Africa. It's one of the organization's most impactful projects, and it was founded 25 years ago. We've trained over 250 individuals from previously disadvantaged and rural communities to act as custodians for nature, ambassadors for wildlife, and promoters of avitourism. Currently, just less than 50 community bird guides remain active in the fields of education, conservation, or tourism, and they are scattered mostly across the eastern parts of South Africa, which is something that we are busy working on rectifying at the moment. And I have an exciting slide to share with you in the next couple of slides. So the selection criteria, we take into account geographic spread. Where are these guides or applicants based or going to be based? Is there any economic or tourism opportunities in this destination? We don't necessarily want to train a guide and then throw them into the middle of nowhere and expect them to feel confident about now trying to secure business because they are trained and going to be highly skilled, and then there's no supporting tourism infrastructure, which is just going to lend them, set them up to failure. We need to make sure that we minimize competition in already saturated locations. So KwaZulu-Natal is a very, very, very good example of this. KwaZulu-Natal is where the project spent a lot of its time training guides. Initially, it's a very popular birding province, and obviously there was a high demand for community or site-based guides. And so there's a massive number of guides that are based there, all doing remarkable work, and there's certainly more than enough business to go around, but it's just it brings about a need for us to make sure that we don't oversaturate the market. And like I said, many of these guides are not just guides. They are highly skilled individuals passionate about birds and consequently passionate about conservation. And they champion this within their own communities and nationally. They're ambassadors for birding, for conservation, for our organization. And quite honestly, they are phenomenal in terms of their outreach. A lot of them actively involved in environmental education and awareness initiatives within their own communities. Now, I have another video I'm going to share with you, and I hope you all enjoy. It is a couple of minutes, it's about 5 minutes, and this is a video of one of our KwaZulu-Natal guides, Mabui Zungu.
My name is Mabui Zungu. I'm a BirdLife South Africa community bird guide. I'm based at Linza Forest, in Mlala's Nature Reserve at Ngoye Forest. The species that I would like to show people at Mlala's is a palmer vulture, a beautiful vulture, and mangrove kingfisher, which is come in here only in winter. And at Ngoye we've got lovely barbets, the green barbets, that is based at Ngoye. And Linza, we've got the pigeon, eastern bronze-necked pigeon, and Narina trogon, and the spotted ground thrush, and the twin spot as well. Those are special that you find at Linza. I was trained by BirdLife South Africa in 2005. So I've been working as a community bird guide for 16 years now. I love being a bird guide because just to make difference in the kids. The kids is our future. If we teach them now, then they will be our next generation. My favorite bird is malachite kingfisher. I love the colors. It's very bright and small, so I love that bird. I work at the Linza Forest Aerial Boardwalk as a guide. At Linza, we're doing tours for community. We've got a school project that we're doing there, helping the kids to come Linza, and we show them the birds and teach them about the forest. We do conservation, teach them how do's and don'ts in a forest. So there's a lot. Also, we do take clients, they book. If they want to explore the forest, then we do also the guiding tours. The kids program that we do, it does help a community. When I started work at Linza, there was this problem of poaching, and we started this program to teach the kids. We even teach them about the poaching, how bad is what does the poaching that bad that is doing. The kids now, they don't come with the dogs to do the poaching, so they come happy to say, okay, we've got this, so we have to protect this species that of ours in the shower. So I will say it's make a big difference. From Matuba, and I came here looking for a job, then I found a job, then I found a husband, then I've got married, and now I'm based at Togotweni. I'm staying at Togotweni with my husband and my 2 daughters. The other one is 24 and the other one is 6. So my husband is working for SMVelo KZN Wildlife at Umlala's Nature Reserve. My 24 years old, she's working at the company. She's the receptionist, yes, in Gauteng. Yeah, she's staying there. I miss her. Yeah, but the one that is at home, she's keeping me busy. She wants all the attention. So yeah, she's in grade RR. She's going school at St. Jude Primary School. Normally, if I'm not working, we're just going for a walk. And the other day she asked, Mommy, can I join you? And we say, but we're gonna walk far. And she took my binoculars and look at, say, okay, show me how to use this thing. Then I show her. Then she said to my adopted dad, say, Grandpa, can you please buy me this thing? So I think she will also follow in my footsteps. I will love that. I would like to thank BirdLife South Africa to train me as a community bird guide, because before I couldn't know anything about the conservation. I was doing whatever that's our life, and for them to train me, I'm able to teach the community now. I'm able to help the kids now. I'm able, even if I travel doing the birding, see the different places I've learned through BirdLife South Africa. They took me to different bases when I was doing my training. So I'm very happy to be a community bird guide through them. So thank you very much, BirdLife South Africa. My name is Mabui.
Excellent, everybody. So that was just a video of Mabui Zungu and one of our incredible guides in KZN, one of 9 female guides that we have actively guiding across South Africa. And if ever you find yourself in KwaZulu-Natal, then I would strongly recommend that you book a morning with Mabui or any one of the other guides that are in that area. Now, I think one of the standout things for me that Mabui says in that video is the impact that BirdLife South Africa, through the Avitourism project, made in her life. And the reason I chose that video specifically is because Mabui is an example of one of these guides that has been guiding now for, now it's over 20 years. And she is doing a phenomenal job in not only guiding, but also through environmental education and awareness initiatives. I mean, to do what she did at Linza and to engage with the local communities there and to specifically speak to the kids who were busy hunting with dogs and involved in poaching, it is hugely impactful. And for me, that just speaks to the bigger role that our project does in terms of training these individuals and making sure that they can act as ambassadors for birding and conservation and bird conservation. Mabui is phenomenal, and obviously she is simply one example. I was actually very hard pressed in choosing. If I could show you all the videos that I have, I probably would have. But yes, so What support do we provide as an organization to these guides? Well, we obviously give them their initial training, and I'll touch on that shortly. But over and above the initial training, we provide them with mentored birding opportunities. You can see Nandi over there where the arrow is coming from, our program manager, me in the middle, and Andrew Weissel, who's the jointly one of the Avitourism project's largest donors from Wilo distributors, Swarovski Optic being the other. We provide world-class training and internationally recognized qualifications and certifications. Locally, once these guides graduate from trainee to accredited birding guide with BirdLife South Africa, they will have the necessary qualifications to legally guide in South Africa, and I'll go more onto that shortly. We provide them with marketing exposure, both domestic and international platforms. Being a BirdLife partner, we're fortunate in that we have access to a number of partners and resources out there in the world where we can showcase all of these guides to the best of our abilities. We work very closely with the industry, business owners, stakeholders, governing body, and we make sure that we partner with them effectively and in ways that are going to benefit our guides. For example, a lot of our guides' success is made because of the support from specialist bird tour operators or just tour operators in general. Companies, for example, if I look at KwaZulu-Natal simply because it's such a success, companies who are utilizing our guides are probably one of their biggest sources of income. So getting the word out there in terms of these guides is hugely important. When these guides finish training with us and after their mentor period, they become some of the best birders this country has ever seen. Some of the best birders in this country come from the Avitourism project, and I'm not simply just saying that. You can I'm sure speak to many of the birders that you happen to know, and certainly they'll be able to vouch for it. We offer continued professional skills development opportunities. So part of the new qualification syllabus going forward that we're busy working with the Field Guides Association of South Africa on, you'll see their logo feature shortly, is continued professional skills development. We want to make sure that these guides have an opportunity to continually develop their skills and continue their journey of learning. And then, of course, industry development and increased employment opportunities. Again, also reflecting to strategic partnerships with corporate South Africa, and making sure that we partner with organizations that we believe and companies that we believe will be able to benefit our guides, and vice versa. We should also add value to them and what they're trying to achieve. And I think that we've got a really good partnership going on with a number of different organizations, business owners, and stakeholders. And of course, guide upliftment and support. We are constantly there. We have a WhatsApp community and continuously busy providing support. We also provide them with a number of different other items or forms of support. It could be from Swarovski binoculars that they have earned, which to our guides is a phenomenal opportunity. It could be support in the terms of printing business cards or uniforms. But ultimately, we've partnered and made sure that we partner with a number of people, organizations that are going to benefit our work and what we're doing. And more importantly, all of these community bird guides. Some of these are pictured here. You'll see we have an excellent partnership with Wild Earth TV, for those of you who may be familiar with it, channel 183 on DSTV, but it is also on OpenView and Freeview in the UK, and it's on Samsung TV Plus in the United States, as well as in-flight entertainment on all Delta airlines. It reaches now approximately 8 million viewers a month across the world. Now, the opportunity that we have with Wild Earth is that we can go up and assist them with live virtual birding safaris, where myself and one of our guides who have to apply for the opportunity will then have an opportunity to go out and present live birding safaris. And it's just an amazing way to get the guides' names out there and to showcase birding in South Africa. There's also a number of different pre-recorded content concepts which we're busy working on, from virtual safaris through to even just embracing virtual safaris as a whole and promoting ecotourism as a whole, because ultimately it will benefit birding and avitourism. We have a partnership with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology in the United States, who provide us with free access to some online learning resources that they have, as well as guidance with the eBird and Merlin apps. And this is citizen science-based platforms that focus on recording bird data, but also on recording bird songs. St. Stithians is working closely with us, one of the country's top private schools up here in Johannesburg, to establish ways that we could provide additional support, not to do specifically with guiding related content, but to try and provide us with support and our guides with support in terms of marketing, accounting, maths, English literacy, soft skills that perhaps they were never ever exposed to, given the opportunities that they may never have gotten in life, including being exposed to, unfortunately, our country's less than ideal basic education system. Of course, I've touched on Swarovski optic and wireless distributors already. The guides get initially given a very basic pair of binoculars, basic but suitable enough to conduct their work, and certainly by no means a detriment to their learning. And once they manage to prove themselves that this is their journey and this is right for them, it is in all likelihood that they will be awarded a pair of Swarovski binoculars, which is truly, truly a mind-blowing opportunity. And then, of course, other organizations such as And Beyond and FAGASA. FAGASA is now the governing body of ecotourism or nature guides, bird guides, trackers, and trail guides in South Africa. And over the past year, we've been collaborating with FAGASA, ongoing discussions to develop new birding certifications and a specialist career pathway for bird guides in South Africa. 25 years ago, this wasn't perhaps necessary. Birding was seen to be one of those things that you would do, wake up in the morning, grab a cup of coffee, sit on your porch and go and look at what comes down to the bird feeder. It has now become a specialist profession, everybody within ecotourism. So yeah, we're busy working with them on that. And then our guides all have Johnson's workwear uniform, sponsored by Johnson's. So what does this training and accreditation look like? Well, training is conducted in compliance with our national laws that regulate tourism in South Africa. Previously, it was about 6 weeks in duration and had a very, very, very strong focus on birds and birding. We outsourced it to a third-party accredited provider, and we supplemented a lot of the work that was then being done there because of the access to the various resources that we have and expertise. They would walk away with a Nature Site Guide accreditation, an NQF2, which is recognized by the Culture, Arts, Tourism, Hospitality, Sports Sector Education Training Authority, CATSETA, and of course, FAGASA. The training that we are re-looking at in terms of what we are busy doing will take 3 stages. We have a foundation phase, a specialist phase, and an employment phase, which looks at lodge industry, specialist operators, and conservation organizations. So our foundation phase really is that, getting to grips with the basics of nature guiding before branching into specializing in birding. What are the fundamentals of being a nature guide in South Africa? And yes, perhaps a grass and astronomy and weather may seem completely irrelevant to some who are thinking that they're signing up to qualify as a bird guide, but actually it couldn't be more relevant. Birding is interconnected into every single aspect of nature. If you find out what grass species are busy seeding at one particular time of year, you'll see where the waxbills and manakins might be feeding. If you take note of migration, especially along our East Atlantic Flyway, you'll begin to notice that a lot of birds actually migrate in large flocks and or individually at night using solar constellations to using astronomical constellations to guide them on their way north and south respectively. Weather conditions majorly impact birding and the presence of birds as well as bird migration. So every single component of nature is linked to birding, which is why that phase is so important. We also will then further develop that in a specialist phase in which we will focus on harnessing and growing that specialist birding knowledge before doing our best to arrange placements or at least exposure to the employment phase, and that's through lodges or specialist operators or even conservation organizations. So what would the guides get if they would qualify through us? This is the eventual aim. They'll qualify with a Nature Site Guide NQF2 qualification with the hopes of them being able to get an NQF4 qualification at some stage. They'll get a National Bird Guide certificate through FAGASA, but initially they will need to achieve regional bird guides for different biomes. And also they will work towards one of the newer qualifications that we're busy designing with FAGASA, being a certified bird guide. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology will provide them with a certificate speaking to their competence in both eBird and Merlin. They will walk away with a Wilderness First Aid Level 3. They'll have a certificate from St. Stithians, which speaks to courses done in English, maths, business, and IT literacy. They'll get a BirdLife South Africa accreditation and be referred to as a BirdLife South Africa accredited bird guide. They'll get a tracker accreditation, either a level 1 all the way up to lead or senior tracker, depending on how well they perform, and also a SAPS firearm competency in the event that they were to seek employment within the lodge industry. And I indicated earlier that there's an exciting opportunity that we are busy doing, which is made possible through the International Climate Initiative, and which directly links and will benefit avitourism along the West Coast. Now, in South Africa, we're very fortunate in that we have highly skilled birders and even one or two specialist bird tour operators based along or in the Western Cape, specifically in and around Cape Town or the greater Cape Town area. The West Coast has a thriving tourism industry, whether it is wildflowers in flower season, whether it is wine tasting, whether it is tea plantations, or whether it is simply cultural experiences. It is a tourism hotspot. The Western Cape is notorious for tourism. So this project, when we got given this grant by ECI, we were very excited because in it was the potential to train guides in the Western Cape. Initially, we had the ability to seek out or open applications for the position of one training guide. And there were a couple of reasons behind this, but the first and main one being in that we needed to train one individual for now who we could really just pour a lot of time and effort into, not that we don't do it with all of our other guides, but to emphasize that we pour a lot of time and effort into this individual so that we select the right individual and we're able to empower him or her to be able to make an impact on the West Coast. And I'm very excited to share that Johnny van Rooyen is now in his third week of a 10-week formal training down in Hlahluwe, KwaZulu-Natal. And Johnny comes from Lambert's Bay, and the whole community knows him there. He currently works for the West Coast District Municipality, and loves his job, loves his family, loves absolutely everything about nature. He's in fact done occasional work for Silent Steps, which is a tour operator on the West Coast, specifically in and around the area where Johnny is situated as well. They have some work going on there, and he is just an absolute ray of sunshine. He is so passionate about life. He is so passionate about tourism and sharing the joys of the West Coast with as many people as he possibly can. He has a broad knowledge and understanding on culture. He's in fact an NQF4 qualified culture guide already, and he now wants to, or wanted to through this process, and which is why he applied to receive this additional training to get his nature guide qualifications and then work towards qualifying as a specialist bird guide. When we conduct the interviews, we had a lovely morning with Johnny at the Lambert's Bay Cape Gallinee colony, and it was just truly spectacular. So Johnny, in going forward, we'll make sure that Johnny attends the workshops, the in-person workshops that we will be hosting in the West Coast area, and it'll be fantastic if those who would want to meet and potentially even support Johnny could attend that and we will arrange that he takes us on a guided experience so that you can all see how skilled he indeed is. Now, mentorship and upskilling, like I said, what is it that we do? We've already covered the WhatsApp channels that we provide these guides. We host bird guide indabas or mini indabas in the form of road shows where we interact with guides all across South Africa. We physically travel to these individuals and we find out from them what it is that they need assistance with, or what are they struggling with, what are they battling, both on a personal and a business point of view. We upskill both soft and business skills, like I said, through our partnerships with with Synstithians and various other stakeholders, trying to focus on growing them as individuals. We promote diversifying of their skills. We don't just, if a guide qualifies through us, they become family. They form part of our guide network. All 47 of those guides get given opportunities to further upskill themselves. It might be a business development workshop. It might be a specialist Lepidoptera workshop, butterfly identification. Some of our guides attended one of those just over a year ago in KwaZulu-Natal, about 8 or 9 of them. And now the very person, Steve Woodall, who's the author of the Butterflies of South Africa Field Guide, has been one of the 2 individuals involved in creating the first ever butterfly guide qualification through the Field Guides of Field Guides Association of South Africa. And now those individuals that were on that course heard of this news, and now they want to qualify as a specialist butterfly guide. How excellent is that? And of course, our female guides, of which we have 9 currently, we are doing our best to support them and make sure that over the past years, the differences in sexes in the industry are addressed, and obviously making sure that we afford our females the opportunities that they are more than deserving of. I also indicated that these individuals have a massive impact on conservation. They're involved in citizen science. For example, the hope is that once we train Johnny and also additional people down the line, that we will then have an opportunity to have these individuals actively contributing to conservation efforts. They will be there at the disposal of us as an organization and the work that we are doing, to other NPOs who may need assistance, contractual assistance in terms of work they're doing. They are going to become an asset to the West Coast. They'll contribute towards the South African Bird Atlas project, to eBird and Merlin sound recordings. They become custodians for key biodiversity areas. And obviously, they will assist us in implementing environmental education and awareness initiatives and grassroots conservation efforts. Johnny, in his application, specifically said to me, he's like, John, listen, I almost feel guilty for applying for this opportunity because I know how many unemployed youth there are in my town here, just around Lambert's Bay. And he's like, it really, really bugs me on a personal level. And we actually had to sit down and say, Johnny, listen, we can understand that, but you obviously are deserving of this opportunity. Otherwise, you wouldn't be applying, and we think you should still apply. And, he still said to us that once he qualifies, he wants to make sure that he can help educate the youth in and around the area. And that's where it all starts, everybody. Conservation at a grassroots level. So implementing some of these will be our organization, other NPOs potentially, and then, of course, all of our community bird guides who will assist us in the area. A brief little interlude before I continue on to this next slide. Are there any questions that perhaps have popped up that somebody may want to ask? Now is your opportunity. Any questions with regards to what's been covered through to, from the citizen science through to our training, through to Johnny van Rooyen, who's currently undergoing his training, the mentorship. Does anybody have any questions at this stage that may have arisen? You can simply just raise your hand, or you could put a comment in the comment section. Doesn't seem that there is anything. If you do happen to be typing one now, or do realize that you want to in fact ask a question, it's no problem at all. I'll carry on, but if there is anything, I'll wait for it to pop up and then I'll just speak to it. All right. Now, our partnership with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology is a hugely beneficial one. And like I said, eBird is one of those platforms where we are doing our best to grow it. And this, if you are an accommodation establishment, and I'm going to chat about it literally in the next slide, but if you're an accommodation establishment, now is the time you need to start listening and attentively, because these are what is going to help you start to address your popularity and presence among international birding tourists specifically, but also South African birding tourists. eBird has billions of users per annum. Billions. It's not an exaggeration. I think there's about 1 or 2 billion people that make use of eBird across the world every single year. It is the world's largest citizen science-based platform for bird observations, but birders are using eBird as a birding travel resource. They want to find out where specific birds are being seen, when they're being seen, and how they can get there. Also, who is busy seeing them. So eBird is one of those things. You can see here is an example of a trip report on eBird. So a lot of bird tour operators will compile trip reports on eBird where they can add their clients. The guide will, over the duration of the trip, compile or keep his various checklists. All of those get put under the umbrella. You can see 56 checklists here get put under the umbrella of that one trip report. And ultimately, you will then have access, or his group or her group will have access to all of the different checklists kept there. Here's an example of one of those checklists. This is the species observed on one specific trip report, and you'll have an opportunity to detail absolutely everything. All of our BirdLife South Africa community bird guides will reach the stage where they have eBird profiles. And the reason being is, when I said that birders are using this to see how they can travel, they will simply go and look and see who has been seeing the birds that they want to see and whether or not they're a guide. If they're not a guide, they end up probably still reaching out to them. Hey, hi, I'm so-and-so. I would like to find out where you saw this bird. But a lot of people will reach out to see that an individual is a guide because they will go to, for example, Letu's eBird page, and they will then say, this is somebody that I would like to go birding with. Pendula, you said, can I please share the recording of the workshop? I will do my best to share the recording of the workshop. So yeah, I will see how I can make that available. All right. Then in terms of, oopsie, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, there we go. So let's just, on this topic, now, if you're an accommodation establishment and Letu is there and she is busy visiting your establishment, she will put that down as, hi, I am visiting the Farmhouse Hotel in Langebaan, and Jaco de Villiers from Farmhouse Hotel in Langebaan was there, and she can add notes to the checklist and everything. So this will directly benefit your accommodation establishments. And speaking to that is our BirdLife South Africa recommended network. Now this, I cannot stress the value of this. Being a BirdLife South Africa recommended member is huge. It speaks to establishments, tour operators, course providers, bird clubs. If you are any one of those four, then this really is something that you should consider looking into. And I'm happy to, I think all of you will have my email. If you don't, Tandlwazi, I think, can maybe put it in the chat box here. So if anybody is able to or wants to send me an email, please could you just do so. Tandlwazi will put my email address in the chat box now. Now, why is this so beneficial? Well, it gives you a whole bunch of benefits. Previously, this was our birder recommended. Thanks, Tando. Tando's just put my email address there, everybody. So if you want further details, please feel free to just email me. Now, it comes with a whole bunch of benefits, but more importantly, this is something that has been established over years. The birding community is massive, but very closely knit. And BirdLife South Africa has established one of the most reputable platforms for birder-friendly services and services being provided to birders that has ever existed in South Africa. Again, I don't mean to come across as arrogant or tooting our own horn, but I'm just explaining the value here of being a part of this. So many establishments and tour operators derive benefit from being part of this association. So how would this benefit you? Well, you would be considered a BirdLife South Africa recommended member. You will get a subscription to the African BirdLife magazine. You will then get a profile on our Go Birding website. This is massive. It is basically a birding version of a TripAdvisor or a Lackerslop or any one of these sort of platforms. It's not the exact same. It does have its differences, but it is certainly very, very, very beneficial to sign up on this. And of course, if you're in the hospitality industry, you want to make sure that your brand and your product is on as many of these platforms. You probably not a single one of you here who happen to be an establishment owner or business owner involved in hospitality or tourism have your establishment or business on one platform. I'm pretty confident that you have it spread across numerous platforms. So same thing here, except you've got a direct tap into the birding community. The page itself is growing rapidly every single month, and it covers everything from birding sites to accommodation establishments, etc. And I'll show you a little bit in the next couple slides. You get to use our BirdLife South Africa recommended logo on all of your products. You get access to an exclusive Avitourism WhatsApp community. It is a community that I've set up, which I have the only posting rights to. And there's different groups a different group for establishments, for tour operators, course providers, and bird clubs. And the reason being is that I might share content to that which is completely irrelevant to somebody else, for example. So you will have a direct tapping into that WhatsApp community. Quarterly dedicated newsletters for our recommended members directly from my desk. Advertorial posting rights on our BirdLife South Africa Facebook group, which has over 120,000 members. Bulk back orders on African BirdLife magazines. If you have an accommodation establishment, there's nothing that I love more than to walk into one of these establishments and see a copy of our magnificent African BirdLife magazine. Now, the bulk order of African BirdLife magazines, if you say to me, John, I have this many units, I would love to get some of these magazines in. Yes, they might be from 2 to 3 years ago, potentially, but at least you can still put those there. And if you say to me, John, I would like a box of 50 of these, as a recommended member, I can make it happen. All you would need to do is just pay for postage if you are not locally based here in South Africa, or if none of my colleagues are able to get the box to you directly. You get discounted class field rates for the African BirdLife magazine and a co-branded list of birds occurring in your area, plus the creation of an eBird hotspot. Now, any member of public can create an eBird hotspot, but through our relationship with eBird and the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, we are able to have that eBird hotspot recognized as an official eBird hotspot. So if you have an accommodation establishment and you have birding in and around your area, and you want to provide a birding checklist to people who are coming to stay by you, we can generate that checklist for you. We don't need to come and stay for a week here and a week there and a week there, although I'm sure we would absolutely love it. But there's no need for that. We can do everything remotely because we have access to both eBird, the database there, and also the database of the South African Bird Atlas Project, which is the continent's largest citizen science-based birding platform. So we will generate those lists for you and co-brand it in A5 printable version format, and you will then be able to provide that to your guests in either electronic or printed copies as and when they happen to check in with you. John Taylor, you say that the recommended member platform is highly recommended. Yes, it is indeed highly recommended. And welcome to those who had just recently joined. Beverly Moore, good morning. You're joining us from Velddrift in the Berg River area. Wendy Wenzel from Cracklin Rosie River Tours in the Berg River Velddrift. Really, really, really great to have you guys here. We even have some people, Yanku from Mohlabetsi Safari Lodge in Baluli, Greater Kruger. I hope that that is all that all of you are going to be benefiting from this. Now, our Go Birding platform, a platform for birders by birders. It's South Africa's one-stop birds and birding hub. It's undergoing a small little rebrand at the moment. This is the unofficial rebranded logo. Chamberlain's Hardware actually funded this entirely during COVID. And so the initial content, about 80% of the content that was created on Go Birding was done during COVID. And it was an attempt for Davy Chamberlain and Chamberlain's Hardware to make sure that they kept specialist bird guides and people involved in Avitourism with some form of an income during the challenging times in COVID. And out of this was born this COVID baby, which has been absolutely beneficial, hugely beneficial for the birding community. So what is it? Well, it's a one-stop shop, and definitely recommend that every single one of you head over to our Go Birding website and take a closer look at it, because you will be mind blown at what is actually available there. Everything from birding sites, birding hotspots, where birders should go, what they should visit, what species they can see, right down through to community bird guides, bird clubs, tour operators, and accommodation establishments. Here's an example of a birding site on the West Coast National Park. Through this project with IKI, we aim to establish a number of different birding hotspots that perhaps aren't necessarily linked or put up on our Go Birding platform yet for the Western Cape. And definitely would like to add a whole bunch more. Now, you open up one of these hotspots and immediately you met with everything from key species through to contact details about the birding, some images as well, and extensive text for a lot of these places on what one can expect when going there. Our community bird guides. Here's an example of one up in Johannesburg, or Gauteng, Pretoria actually. Bongani Ngwenya is based up in Hammanskraal. You can see there's a number of different birding hotspots there. Perhaps you are new to the area, maybe you're passing through Gauteng and you just want to make sure that you fully maximize your time by hiring the services of a community bird guide. And so you click on Bongani's profile and you can see immediately where Bongani operates, his various contact details, as well as more information about Bongani and who he is as a guide. Wendy, could you add the Berg River estuary to your birding spots, please? Wendy, you will be pleased to know that Velddrift and the Berg River, there is a spot there, but it is in need. Those are one of the spots that was created initially through COVID, and there are some updates that we are busy working on the back end at the moment. So yes, there's going the areas between the Berg River and the Olifants River to the north, obviously, as well as areas around Lambert's Bay, are going to, through the funding given to us by the International Climate Initiative, IKI, going to be revisited, revised, and we are going to really zhuzh them up a little bit so that they are even more beneficial than what they currently are. Then I'm going to I was going to do a live demonstration of Go Birding. So it's a pleasure, Wendy. It's only a pleasure. I will keep you posted as well when those get sorted. I'm going to do a live demonstration, everybody, of Go Birding. So just bear with me here quickly while I stop my screen sharing. You might just be met with only my video for a couple of seconds, but I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to set up the screen sharing on my side, and then I will take you all through a live demonstration of our Go Birding platform. Just hang tight while I stop my screen sharing. And let me open up our Go Birding platform here quickly. So it's a simple Google search. One goes into Google and types in Go Birding, and you will then be met with this. So can everybody see my screen? If you could maybe just give me a thumbs up, or there we go. Okay, perfect. All right. So this is our Go Birding platform, everybody. You will see this is the homepage. Welcome to Go Birding, the different color-coded categories that you can see there, and a magnificent rolling slideshow as well. We have a homepage, an About Us page, a news page, which is also being currently revisited at the moment, and we're adding a whole bunch of different content here. This is the most recent article we've just written, Choosing the Right Binoculars, a Birder's Essential Guide. And then here's another article, Developing the Garden Route and Klein Karoo as an Avitourism destination. This was from an initiative not too dissimilar to what we are trying to attempt through this funding given to us by ICI and along the West Coast in trying to develop Avitourism. And then obviously various other posts as well. We have our South African Listers Club. We've got a link directly to BirdLife South Africa shop for the birds and a donate page. But the real meat and potatoes, everybody, is on the homepage. This is Go Birding in a nutshell. Just have a look at all of these pins. These are all birding spots, accommodation establishments, guides, operators that have signed up to form part of this platform. And this is such a testament to developing avitourism in the country. If I zoom in simply to the garden route, the general garden route Klein Karoo area, if you can see my cursor busy circling this area, this was as a result of a project that we were involved in 2023 into 2024 that focused on developing this area as an avitourism destination. From this has stemmed the Plet B2 Birding Festival. It has stemmed newfound interest in birding sites, birding routes, and it is turning into a magnificent, the garden route, turning into a magnificent and popular avitourism birding destination. And we are going to do our best to replicate that on the West Coast. You can see that there is a number of areas that still need some love and attention here. Port Nolloth obviously being slightly further than what we want to go, but let me show you here quickly now. If I go to select category and I go down to birding sites, I apply the filter. Immediately, our entire map has now lost all other pin colors. All right, so I've applied that filter. Now, if I choose my province, we lose everybody else besides the Western Cape. And if we go into the Western Cape here, you'll see that this area here, from where my cursor is right up to sort of the top of this section of the province over here, just on the fringes of the Northern Cape, all the way down, so from Papendorp all the way down the West Coast, this is our area of operation. We need to develop this area as a birding hotspot. It is already known and popular amongst birders, but the world needs to know this. And this is such a crucial part of the East Atlantic Flyway route. And the amount of migratory shorebirds, waders, that are moving across here, the amount of endemic fynbos specialist species hanging around here, and even just in the adjacent Karoo as well, once you sort of ascend this escarpment area, is mind-blowing. It is a birding hotspot. It is a tourism hotspot. Just the other day, I passed through Clan William. I sat down in a restaurant. It was after we'd conducted the interviews. We sat down in a restaurant, and there was not a single South African there. It was all foreigners. So there is huge potential for tourism here. Now, our key focus area, you can see, is between Papendorp and all the way down to Veldrif, which is somewhere around here. Yeah, there's Saldanha. Yeah, there we go, Veldrif. All right. So this, I see there was some people joining from St. Helena Bay. I know that there were some people joining in from the West Coast itself. So this is the main project focus area, but we are using it as an opportunity to make sure that people can piggyback off of our efforts and try and grow this area. I mean, just look at all this space. And yet I can guarantee you that every single one of you here knows that these are areas that are popular for tourists. Now, if I just change to the accommodation side of things, similar situation. You can have your accommodation listed here and you could derive immense benefits from it. I mean, we don't have anything in St. Helena Bay. We have one in Darling. We have Bokum Bungalow from Veldrift. We've got Portquirk Mountain Experience and all the way up the coast. It's limited. All right. So we are doing our best to try and grow this. What is something that birders want to know when they travel? Well, how easy is it to travel there? 1. 2, where can I sleep? And 3, where can I find the birds that I want to find? Those are the 3 paramount things. And if you can tick those off, all of a sudden people want to come. So these birding sites we upload, if you think, hey, John, there's this really good birding site, I've got information, let's see how we can get it up onto birding, or onto Go Birding, we'll make it happen. No charge, nothing. Our membership fees remain what they are, but the benefits that you derive from it are extraordinary. And it will benefit this entire area if you were to form part of our efforts in collaboration with the International Climate Initiative and the East Atlantic Flyway Initiative to conserve this part of our coastline, which is also under immense pressure from development, mining in particular. Just last night, I hosted a Conservation Conversations episode where we had representatives from Protect the West Coast explain to us what exactly is going on. Some of my colleagues work on protecting the estuaries in the Western Cape, and they too have shared with me news on how the West Coast is under immense threat. So forming part of what we're trying to do will benefit conservation, either directly or indirectly. And if I zoom out, I would just like to show you our community bird guides. I'm not going to specify a province, but you'll notice that it's not a malfunction for the filter, but rather that all of our guides right now are centered in Eastern South Africa. Okay, I did indicate that this is something that we are working on, but we are potentially looking at the training of a guide from the garden route. And obviously we are actively involved in the training of a guide from Lambert's Bay, which is excellent because it is centered smack bang in the middle. And Johnny is certainly in a position to travel either north to the Olifants and south even further to the likes of St. Helena, to Langebaan, to West Coast National Park, as well as out and towards the Cedarburg as well. He's an experienced hiker, and he is simply just an absolute avid outdoorsman. So you can see, everybody, why the Western Cape from a tourism point of view. If I select tour operators, all of a sudden that does change a little bit. We have some recommended tour operators established already. And these are tour operators that offer a birding service to birders. You don't have to be a specialist bird tour operator like Birding Africa. You don't. You can simply be somebody who offers a birding alternative to what you otherwise normally would offer. And I think that's an important distinguishing feature to make. You don't have to be a specialist bird tour operator only conducting bird tours, but just have a birding element. And that is it from a Go Birding point of view. And if I clear this, you will now see the massive reach that we have on this platform and why this is such a beneficial platform to form part of. Now I'm going to momentarily stop the sharing of my screen yet again and just open up my PowerPoint presentation and try and get to the presenter view mode. I'm so thankful that I've managed to decipher this this issue that has been plaguing me for the longest of times in terms of the splitting of my screens. But let's see, I think we are now. You should all see my screen now, which is excellent. All right. Everybody, you will note that I now here have the end of our workshop, and this prompts the start of a Q&A session. Okay, this is an opportunity, and I'm hoping that there are going to be some questions that are going to come up here. If everybody or anybody has any questions, now is your time to ask them before we conclude this webinar. And I will, for those of you that were here and in attendance, I will make this recording available to you. I will see if we can upload this onto YouTube, onto our YouTube channel, and then I can simply share the link with you. But yeah, please let me know if you have any questions that you would like for me to speak to. Of course, I'd just like to thank every single one of you who have joined in today. Like I said, there's not just a lot of people from the West Coast. In particular, there's people from KZN. Jan Pinar, thank you very much for joining. Cindy, thank you for joining from Tanamuntu Tours in Richards Bay. Jane Mouton, thank you so much for your kind comments. Ulrich, thank you so much. Ulrich Seelbach from Cape Town for joining. Duncan also joining from St. Helena. Yanku. Thank you very much, everybody. It was, of course, excellent having you all here. I see there's a question that's come up now. Terry, you say, thank you very much for your great work. Appreciate it. Jacques, is there a limit to the amount of guides you can train up on the West Coast? Well, at this stage, no. In terms of, obviously, funding is a big thing. Right now, we are capped by the amount of funding that we have. The aim is to train more. How many more is a great question. Previously, we trained 9 guides through a separate grant, but 3 of them chose to leave the profession, and then the remainder got snapped up by governmental conservation organizations and Cape Nature, and that's perfectly fine and amazing because they're still contributing to conservation. But our aim is to, train guides that are going to be employed, full stop. Whether they run there and create and basically proceed to have their own SME, small to medium business enterprises, fantastic. And they showcase entrepreneurship skills, fantastic. But if they do get employed in education, conservation, or tourism with an operator or with a government organization or a reserve management, it doesn't matter because for us, they're still valuable and they're still busy giving back. So yeah, Jock, to answer your question, we aim to train. We've got Johnny, who's busy being trained at the moment. There's potential for us to train a guide in the garden route as well in the foreseeable future, which we're still busy finalizing the details about. And then along the West Coast specifically, there were, through our application process, 3 standout individuals, 1 from Elands Bay and 2 from Papendorp, who we are hoping, we've got them as part of our apprenticeship program right now. And basically what that means is they don't have a guide training opportunity, but we will provide them with some online resources that they can use. We're going to get a field guide to them, a bird guide. We're going to get them a pair of binoculars, and we're going to just try and keep that interest and grow that interest so that when the time comes and we do have funds to train them, we'll then train them. So yeah, at this stage, we want to make sure that we get enough, rather less than more. We would all rather have extremely skilled and talented individuals, 4 individuals, than 15 to 20 not as skilled individuals. So that's why we're extremely strict when we come to our selection process and our application process. It's grueling. It's a 4-stage process, from an initial phone call right through to submitting a formal application, which includes police clearance, medical clearance. They have to undertake that they'd make themselves available to a polygraph test if they're going to be working in areas that are susceptible to high volumes of poaching. With the Western Cape, it is particularly pertinent for abalone and also for succulents, especially some of these areas in our focus area being near the Knarsvlakte. So all forms part of that. Then there's an official phone call interview and then a in-person interview process before we select the candidate. If we don't find the right candidate, we don't accept anybody. So that's the application process and the degrees to which we go to make sure that we can find the right person. Wendy, you say you have a boat tour now, so you have to log out. I appreciate your attendance. Thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to engaging going forward. Jacques, you say amazing, great to hear it. Thanks. It's only a pleasure. Thank you. Jan, you say, thanks, John. Great presentation. Can freelance bird guides, not necessarily community-based, also be featured on the Go Birding platform? Thinking of guides not employed by a specific operator. Jan, yes, you can. So yeah, you are then get put under an operator, a BirdLife South Africa recommended operator. And what that means is that you are your own operator. You are Jan Pienaar, for example. So we would just label it and work it around that way. And then in your description of your profile, we would then just simply say Jan Pienaar, freelance guide specializing in this area, this area, this area, or whomever the freelance guide is that you had in mind. Beverly, thank you very much for joining. You say an interesting and informative presentation. I'm glad that you found it interesting, and thank you very much for joining. It's hugely appreciated. Jan, perfect. Thanks. Please feel free to message me and I can provide more details. Yaku, thanks. Got to run. Very insightful. Awesome. Enjoy, Yaku. Appreciate you joining. John, great webinar. Thanks, John. Thanks, BirdLife South Africa. Thank you, John, for joining. It's hugely appreciated. Melanie, no worries at all. Thank you very much for still joining in. I will make sure that I can send a copy of the recording to all who signed up. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll be in contact with you with a copy of this recording. Thank you, Melanie, still for signing in. It's hugely appreciated. Irene, you're doing lovely things here. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining and for the compliment. I see there are still a number of people online. I'm looking to close the workshop shortly. And so if you do have any questions, yeah, please, now is the time. Drop them. I see there's a question that's popped up here. Goodness. I've somehow overlooked this. All right, Mpendulo, you ask, thank you for the informative session, John. What is the selection criteria for community bird guides? So yeah, great question, Mpendulo. I did speak to that now in terms of the application process. But there's a couple of things strategically that we look at from an organizational point of view and also in terms of the grant. So, you know, where the funding's coming from, the objectives, what we're trying to achieve. We need to make sure that from our side that we are confident that once we train an individual, he or she will have an opportunity to be able to conduct business and to do so successfully in an area. That means there needs to be an existing tourism form of tourism, be it astronomy, be it wine tasting, be it tea. It doesn't matter. There needs to be tourists visiting the destination. If somebody is traveling to experience something, it means that they have an inherent curiosity to them, which will lend themselves to exploring outdoor activities. So birding can always be tied in there. So it doesn't matter if your accommodation establishment, for example, is in the heart of the winelands, and you're unsure whether there's even birds in that area. I'm confident there would be, but it doesn't matter. You would still have an awesome, fantastic opportunity to promote to those tourists coming to your establishment, to the winelands, that, you know what, hey, listen, we've got birds. You should definitely recommend this. This destination is 15 minutes away. This one's 40 minutes away. Still an opportunity. So we need to make sure there's tourists there. I've explained the application selection criteria process. We open the application process up to the public. Obviously, we send the applications through to representatives from reserve management, municipalities, accommodation establishments, people in the area. We try and circulate it within the areas we really want to target in terms of getting applicants from. And then what happens is we open up the applications and we receive the applications, and then we undertake that 4-phase process. Once we've found the right person, we will then obviously proceed and afford them with the opportunity. What do we look for in a guide? Enthusiasm and the ability to handle a number of interpersonal situations. Speaking to just guiding in general, you need to have a specific personality to be able to have a guide. We understand that the person joining the training or applying for the training might not have a strong or any knowledge in birding or bird guiding, and that's okay. You don't have to have that knowledge. You just need to have the interpersonal skills, or the potential certainly for those to be developed, but also an interest in nature. Because if you have an interest in nature, that's great. If you're passionate about nature, that's great. I cannot train passion, but I can train you to be passionate about birds. So all that means is that if you're passionate about nature, you come spend time with us, and very quickly you'll realize how phenomenal birds and birding is, and bird guiding. And slowly but surely you will start to get just as passionate. I mean, I could go and listen to a talk, you and I and Pendula could go and listen to a talk on, clouds. And perhaps if that's something that's never interested us, or even accounting, or think of any topic in the world. But if we had to sit in front of somebody who's incredibly passionate about his or her topic, we would have some form of an interest, some form of a spark. And the minute there's a spark, we're able to pour gasoline, and we're able to assist in generating that passion that is fire. Alex, this was phenomenal. Thank you. No, thank you for joining. Please do be in touch. Pendula, I do hope that answered your question. Right, everybody, on behalf of both me and my colleague Tandalwazi and Daba, everybody at the Avitourism project here in BirdLife South Africa, my fellow colleagues who are assisting with, it's a pleasure, Pendula, excellent. My fellow colleagues who are assisting with this phenomenal work that we're going to be doing down on the West Coast through the support of the International Climate Initiative. Thank you very much. Those colleagues being Dr. Giselle Morrison, Nandi Tubela, Jessica Wilmot, myself, and then Tandalwazi. We thank you. Duncan, thanks so much. Keep doing what you're doing. I really appreciate that, Duncan. Thank you for joining as well. And we'll keep you all posted, everybody, and hopefully we'll be able to run another one of these online webinar workshops in the foreseeable future. But for now, thank you very much. I do hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And any questions that you may have, you are more than welcome to contact me. All right, I'm going to close the webinar now. Have a fantastic remainder of your day, everybody. Thank you for joining. And again, on behalf of everybody at BirdLife South Africa, thank you for your support, and thank you to the International Climate Initiative, ICI, for providing us with this opportunity to conduct these workshops. All the best and happy birding.